I get it, to-do lists overwhelm you. They do me too. So this video is going to break down how you can actually achieve your goals and become a successful woman by moving the needle without to-do lists. This is going to be your overwhelm-friendly system. I grew up in a very chaotic home, and the minute I understood that to-do lists weren't safe in my brain, and there is a way for you to actually make to-do lists and things to do that are really going to move the needle in your goals safe, it will be the biggest game changer. And you need to figure out a way how to stop your goals from triggering the fear part of your brain. Now, if you have big goals, you might seem to think that you need to become a completely different person in order for you to achieve your goals. But actually, you just need to heal your nervous system. So if you feel like you get burnt out by to-do lists, you get scared of failure, or you just have a general sense of anxiety when it comes to sitting down and actually just putting in the work to actually reach the goal that you want to reach, then this video is going to be for you. Now, this video is going to be broken down into 4 chapters. First, we're going to talk about exactly why you're overwhelmed, because you can't change something unless you actually understand the reasons why. Second, we're then going to talk about how you can reverse this. Little tips and tricks where you can work with your brain after understanding it and also making a goal safe. Thirdly, we're going to go through your overwhelm-friendly system in order for you to achieve your goals. And finally, we're going to talk about actionable steps that you can do today in order for you to really break down your goals and actually start today with moving the needle. Because I know everyone says that you don't grow in the comfort zone, but if you actually make your brain so uncomfortable, you also don't grow. So it's about finding that balance, and that's exactly what we're going to discuss, because as girls, I want us to achieve our goals in the softest and most feminine way. Let's get into it. Now, if you are an easily overwhelmed girly, then to-do lists might not be your best bet. There are 4 main reasons why you could be feeling this way, and you need to decide which bucket you fall into, because depending on the bucket that you fall into, there'll be different things that you can do in order to make your brain safe, because your brain is wired completely differently, and it's to do with your traumas and to do with your thoughts and to do with your childhood and to do with the way that your brain ticks. If you can figure out which one of these 4 buckets you fall into, it will be so easy for you to actually decide what to do next. Number 1 is a fear of a new identity. This is personally the one that I struggled with the most. I just felt like I was so stuck in my old ways and stuck with my old thought processes, and I was really, really fearful to actually become a new person. Now, it's not even about becoming a new person. It is about an identity shift. In my first video, I did talk about the importance of an identity shift and actually the steps that you can do in order for you to go and make that identity shift. But just to run through the basics, your brain needs to actually believe what it is that you are telling it. Now, sometimes it is really important that if you have a completely big goal, then some sort of identity shift is going to happen, because if you were that person now and you had that identity, you would already have that goal by now. And being a human being at the core is actually about growth, about changing. You should not be thinking the exact same way as you did 1 year ago. Hell, you shouldn't even be thinking the same way that you did 6 months ago or even a month ago, because it is all about changing. It's about growing. It's about remaining to yourself at the core, but actually making little changes to improve yourself. And that is exactly what an identity shift is. It's improving yourself in just enough that you don't lose yourself and who you are as a person, but changing them habits and them bad thought patterns that are just going to stop you from reaching that goal. Now, you've got to understand that our brains are completely wired for survival. And one thing survival loves the absolute most is status quo. It likes to stay where it is familiar. And even if that is not serving you and it is a bad thing, at least it's familiar for your brain. So your brain doesn't bug out because it knows exactly how to deal with this. It knows what to do in autopilot mode. And that is not always a good thing. And your brain might be aware that if I achieve this big goal, my life is going to completely change. My social circle is going to change. My plans are going to change. What I do on a day-to-day is going to change. My workload is going to change. My partner might even change. The clothes that I wear, the person that I become, it will change. And even if it's for the good, your brain is going to be thinking that you're going to be losing some part of yourself every single time that you're not doing that thing on that to-do list that needs to be done. Every single time you're focusing on the fun stuff and not actually things that's going to move your needle. That is telling your brain that actually I'm comfortable and I am happy to not lose the life that I've got right now. And sometimes it doesn't mean losing it completely, but you might have to lose certain parts of yourself or lose certain parts of your life in order for you to go and live the life that you want to live. Because what is the point of doing a vision board, or what we like to call actually an action board? I'll get into that on another video. If you don't want to change anything about your life and you're not willing to do the things. Now that could be one reason as to why your brain views it as bad, because it's like, well, if I do all the things on this to-do list, I might actually achieve my goal. And if I achieve my goal, that might mean a huge change. So are you fearful of change? If you are, that's totally fine, but you need to be really self-aware of it. And there are journaling prompts that you can do. What I want you to do is type into ChatGPT, hey, I'm afraid of change. I don't know why I'm doing this. Can you please explain to me why a to-do list is so overwhelming when I don't like change? Actually write in a journal, just write. It could be on a Word document, on a piece of paper, or even just sitting here and thinking about it in your head about what is it that has led you here. Why are you so afraid of change? Only you can answer that. And you need to sit there and really deeply think and become self-aware of the fact that if your to-do list is actually triggering you going, I don't want to lose this part of my life, you need to identify what parts of your life you are so scared to lose. What is it that your brain is probably fearful of losing? And what is it that you want to transition into? And you need to sort of show your brain, hey, it's a good thing. It's going to be great. And you sort of need to do it slowly because your brain is afraid of the extreme. And you need to show that if I do everything on this to-do list, it's not just going to be like a click of the switch, something like that. You need to be the higher person. Like you need to be the adult to your brain, but can treat it like a child. You need to tell it, hang on a minute, you know what? It's going to be fine if we do this slowly, and it is actually going to be a good thing. You need to tell it every single day. Now, the second reason why you might find your to-do list overwhelming is because you have an overwhelming sense of fear of failure. This is also something that really affected me. And remember at the beginning of the video when I said you need to figure out what bucket you fall into out of these four, you might have all four. I know I did. But going back, a lot of us have very vague goals. And as long as it's vague, like I want to become a YouTuber, you haven't actually thought about, okay, what type of YouTuber you want to be. If you say, I want to become a businesswoman, you haven't thought about a business plan, you haven't come up with an MVP, you haven't actually thought about the process that you need to do, because it is literally just a vague idea. It's out there, you're kind of throwing it out into the universe, and it's so vague that it doesn't matter, because where it's so vague, you haven't failed, and your brain likes that. You need to define your goals. Just like laziness is a killer in a relationship, laziness and vagueness is a killer for a business plan and for your goals. You need to write out what it is that you specifically want to do. If you want to become an athlete, what sport is it that you want to do? If you want to become a YouTuber, what channel type do you want to do? Do you want to do vlogs? Do you want to do a main channel like that I'm doing where you're talking and educating people? Do you want to do inspiration and motivational content? What do you want to talk about? What is the topics? Listing out a way of little things and little details that you can do, because when you break it down into tiny steps, your brain doesn't find it so vague and so scary, because vagueness is also making decision fatigue. It's also making your brain try and work out all of the little things that you need to do in order to achieve that goal. So by the time you've even sat down to achieve the goal, your mind is already exhausted. It's so tired because it's actually just spent so much time trying to work out and figure out, what is this goal that I need to do? What are all the little things that I need to do? And because you haven't sat down and wrote out all of the little things that you need to do, it's trying to do it for you, making it tired, putting your brain into fatigue and overwhelming you. And that can sometimes lead to shutdown. Now, a lot of us actually just have egos, and that is something that we all need to realize. Egos isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do feel like sometimes as human beings, we are not aware of the fact that we have such big egos. And if you have a fear of failure, congratulations, you have a very big ego. Because when you have a goal, a very specific goal, and then you don't hit it, it can really affect your self-worth. It can make you feel like I'm not good enough. But if you have a vague goal and you don't hit it, it doesn't actually do anything for your self-worth, because you're actually thinking, it was a vague goal, I didn't hit the benchmark, it's absolutely fine, it did nothing to my self-worth. Because you can't really fail at something that you never truly started. This brings me to my third bucket, which is what I like to call the upper limit problem. This one most likely stemmed from your childhood, but there was a psychologist called Gay Hendrick, and he basically realized that as human beings, we sometimes have an upper limit to what we think the amount of success and happiness that we can reach. And we often set that based off our childhood experiences, off previous experiences, off traumas, off bad things. And we don't actually tell ourselves that there is no upper limit. We are convinced that we have only this much amount of success that we can have, or I'm going to start feeling imposter syndrome. I can't be happy. And if I start to get sort of like a few things go right in my life and I'm starting to feel happy, I'm like, hang on a minute, something's wrong. Why am I feeling so happy? Like, why is my life going right? Something's going to go wrong. That is you putting an upper limit. So if you do that in sort of like everyday scenarios, it could be in a relationship where you're like, hang on a minute, things in my relationship are going too well. My husband's loving me a little bit too much, or, oh, he's bought me a lot of flowers lately. Do I deserve that? Or you've got a promotion at work and you seem to think, hang on a minute, like, am I allowed to become like a director? Am I allowed to become a manager? Is this something that I actually deserve? Is this something I actually can achieve? It could be as another simple, going back to my YouTube examples of, if you want to become a YouTuber, you're thinking in your head, there's no way that I can be the type of girl that has 1 million subscribers. I can never even reach 100k subscribers. That's just something that's beyond me. Who would want to follow me? Who would want to subscribe to me? Why am I deserving of having that many subscribers and actually becoming a YouTuber? But you're probably the one that has that picture of the YouTube plaque sitting on her vision board. Even though you want it so bad, there is that little part of you that seems to think, I can't get there because I have that upper limit. So if you feel like this might be your problem, I want you to sit down and actually define your upper limit. What do you think your upper limit is as it stands? Because it is going to change. The more you actually write it down, you're going to realize that it's absolutely ridiculous. You're going to be sat there thinking, why have I put this upper limit on myself? And why is it that I'm not deserving of the stars? Why am I not deserving of the moon? Why am I not deserving of all of the goals that I want to achieve? And once you write it down, it will actually make more sense into your head. Because when you have that upper limit, when things are starting to go well, we often start to self-sabotage. You could be on a complete roll with being online and doing your content creation, or you've done so many things in your business and you've made an MVP and you've started selling, and then when it comes to actually doing another product launch or going further in your business, you're then like, oh, I don't think I could do this. I'm going to stop now. That is self-sabotage at its core. And if you have this and you have a bunch of things on your to-do list that are probably going to make you go even further, make you become even more successful, you don't do it because, again, you've got that upper limit and you start to self-sabotage. Sometimes when you have different goals and different things, like for example, I remember seeing a podcast by the CEO, I've forgotten his name, of Gymshark, and he actually was so out of his comfort zone because to become CEO, he wanted to earn it, and he actually went down all of the different departments and learnt different things, which again, he was just a normal man that started this business in his bedroom, and now he's got like $1 billion company. He was so out of his comfort zone. But if he self-sabotaged halfway through because he thought there's no way I can become $1 billion company, we would never have the Gymshark that we have today and all love. Because when we sabotage, that is literally our body trying to bring it back down to the stress levels that we're used to. We sort of need to raise our tolerance for the level of stress that we are used to, because with new tasks, with new goals, and things that are going to make our businesses, make our goals, make our YouTube channels, make our content creation, whatever it is that you want to do, sort of progress even further, it comes with a new set of tasks, it comes with a new set of stress, and it comes with a new set of challenges. And that is something that our brain just doesn't want to do, but you need to get it. You used to that because your brain is trying to get it back down to that level of stress, that temperature, what it is that you are used to. And the way to get over this is actually just by simply writing it down. You need to, on top of writing down your upper limit, you actually then need to write down what it is that you could be self-sabotaging, because you can't change it if you don't recognize it. You need to be your own life coach. You need to be the one person that goes, you're doing it again. Just so you know, I thought I'd let you know that you just self-sabotaged right there. You need to get so used to knowing yourself and knowing when you are self-sabotaging, and so you can cut it out. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can't go, hey, cut it out now. Like, we've had enough. You're self-sabotaging, have a couple of minutes to yourself. Self-sabotage for about an hour, I'll give you that. But then after that, we're going for it, and there is nothing you can do about it. Now, number 4, I've been doing a lot of research into the brain, and we have something called the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. And you will realize as you watch a lot of my videos that these two will prop up quite a lot, because these two are responsible for a lot of our actions. Prefrontal cortex, think of it as your logic center. This is going to be what makes all of your decisions. And remember, your life is only as good as the decisions that you make. And the problem is when your prefrontal cortex is trying to make good decisions, your amygdala sometimes doesn't like it and it tries to take over. And your amygdala is your emotional center. And that's when you start making decisions based on emotion and not logic. And this is the 4th bucket that you might not be liking your to-do list, because your emotional center, your amygdala rather, is actually trying to kick in and it's getting triggered. It seems to think that the goal that you are setting is not safe. It's starting to fear it. Your amygdala doesn't seem to like uncertainty for some reason. It makes it anxious. And if you had a very sort of anxious childhood where if you didn't know what was happening, whether you grew up in a chaotic household, an abusive household, or in a relationship or a job where if you didn't know what was happening and you just thought that something's going to go wrong, because most often it did, this is probably the bucket that you are going to fall into. Because as women who are ambitious, and I'm guaranteeing if you are watching this video, you are just as ambitious as me. You are thinking, okay, I've got all of these goals that I want to get, but unfortunately what comes with that is uncertainty. You don't know, as I said, what's going to happen with that. You don't know the life that's going to happen with it. You don't know the challenges you're going to face with it. You don't know the people you're going to meet. You don't know what's going to happen at all once you achieve that goal. And this is linked to the lion logic. In the past, when, you know, they were living in the caves, there might be a lion nearby, and they just have no idea if they are safe or if there is a lion, a predator headed their way. And nowadays, the same sort of signal goes off in our brain, and for some reason, our brain perceives goals as a lion coming our way, because again, it's uncertainty. And it's sort of like a biological alarm clock that goes off whenever you're thinking about a new career position or you're thinking about a major creative project. If you fall into this bucket, this is what you need to do instead. You need to think of a way to make your goal safe. You need to somehow convince your brain that your goal is not a threat, and that's exactly what we're going to break down in the overwhelm friendly system and in this video. What I want you to do, especially if you hate uncertainty and you fall into bracket number 4, you need to stop thinking of it as a goal. Literally, just remove the word goal from your vocabulary, and I want you to think of it like a project or an experiment. I was actually reading Feel Good Productivity by Dr. Ali Abdaal. He used this example where one of these physicists had actually fallen out of love with physics. He was a professor at a top sort of like Harvard University or Columbia University, and he had actually fallen out of love with it, and he was one of the top professors that just stopped teaching physics. And one day there was a student that was throwing plates up in the air in the cafeteria, and he actually started to wonder why that was, because the logo in the middle started to wobble and shake, and he thought this was interesting. So he started doing physics again. He actually started to hold experiments, and people were laughing at him and telling him, why on earth are you looking at airborne crockery? Because, you know, you're a top physicist. You know, this is not something that physicists in their right mind do. He goes, I don't care. I'm having fun. Because when he was younger, younger, the reason why he got into physics in the first place was because he was having fun. Long story short, he actually went on to win a Nobel Prize, and that only happened because he stopped looking at it as a goal, as a chore, as a task, and something he had to do. And he just went back to the basics and did something that he wanted to explore, something that he was having fun with. And that is something that you need to start doing. You need to think about why it is that that goal popped into your head in the first place. Is it purely just because of the money, or is there some element of fun in that? You need to figure out how to have fun with it. You need to feel how to feel good with it. You need to figure out the experiment and the project that you can do with it. Because once you see it as something that's beneficial to you and something you can have fun with and something that you can just do, you will actually naturally start to do the hard things. And what this does is actually lower the stakes a little bit, because you are actually now doing this more as data collection and having fun, rather than, if I don't achieve this goal, I'm going to fail. So you are removing the element of failure. Now, there is a saying that you should focus on the floor, not the ceiling. Instead of focusing on the mountain peak, instead of focusing, okay, this is like the big goal, you need to focus on the minimal viable action. What is the little actions that you can do that will show you whether or not this is something that can work? You need to show your brain that the little things that you do aren't so scary. So if your goal is, I want to become an author and I want to write a book, your minimal viable action might be writing a couple of sentences or writing a paragraph, rather than going, okay, I need to write a book, I need to write a book, because that of course is going to scare someone. But if you say, okay, I just need to write a paragraph, I just need to write a couple of sentences, that's not so scary to your brain. Now, at the beginning of the video, I told you to figure out which bucket you fall into. It could be 1, it could be all 4, it could be 2 or 3. Now, no matter which bucket you fall into, I want you to know that this is completely normal. This has stemmed somewhere from your childhood, through the previous experiences you have had. It could be a previous relationship, a friendship, a work colleague, anything. Any experience that you have had in your life has some way, shape or form made you into this person. It has made you turn to one of these buckets. No matter what it is, you now need to go ahead and really think about why it is you have fallen into this bucket. You need to think about what experience you have had, whether it be one or multiple, that has led here. Because the minute you realize why you're thinking that way, it sort of normalizes to your brain that it's okay for you to be feeling that way. But it's now time to change, because it's no longer serving you. And it's really hard to do that when you don't actually soothe yourself and understand why it is that you have been feeling that way in the first place. Now, let's get back to the to-do list and your overwhelm friendly system. If you are the type of person that has a 20-item to-do list, this is a recipe for failure, because it doesn't actually take into consideration the time that you're going to need and the energy you're going to have to use. So what I want you to do is get 2 separate pieces of paper. One is going to be for your brain dump, and one is going to be the daily list of 3, or what I like to call the now list. The brain dump is exactly what it says on the tin. Every little thing that is in your head, brain dump it out onto a piece of paper, because there is a saying that our brains aren't actually meant for storage, it's meant for creativity. And you've got 1,000,001 different things running through your head saying, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this. Your brain is actually using up energy to store it in there. How I've started to think of it is, ever since I've started creating content, my iPhone storage has been literally full all the time. So I decided to invest in an external storage device. Your brain dump basically needs to be this external storage device, because your brain is basically the iPhone, and every single time you are not writing something down, you are basically filling up your iPhone memory. You're filling up your brain memory. This list is basically going to become your someday list. It could be, okay, I want to write a book, I want to write a YouTube channel, I want to launch a product, I want to launch this business, that business, whatever it is that you want to do, because I know you're going to be a very highly ambitious woman. Even if it's not an ambitious goal, even if it is, okay, I want to lose weight, I want to do this, I want to work on improving my makeup skills, I want to do pottery, I want to learn horse riding, I want to read this book. Literally, whatever it is, get that down on paper. And again, that's going to be your someday list, and put that to the side so that you can sort of shut that off in your brain and go, you know what, that's not for now, we're going to deal with that someday. This is where the second piece of paper comes in. This is going to be your now list, and I want you to list out 3 things from there that you are going to do today. The minute that you write that down, I want you to think of that backlog as literally closed for the day. You're not going to look at it for a while. I want you to sort of understand before you do this what vague goals are, because vague goals are actually dangerous. They're not giving your brain a sort of starting line. And as I said, it is taking up mental energy in your brain, and it's making your brain sort of expend a lot of energy on trying to figure out all the subtasks that it needs to do. For example, if one of your goals is, I want to be more consistent on social media, more is actually unquantifiable. It's not a number. What number is more? If you post 50 times a day, is that more? Is that enough? Because if you aren't saying, okay, I want to post 3 times a day, and instead of posting 3 times a day, I want to post 7 times a day, that is actually quantifying something. That actually makes you feel like, okay, I know the goal that I want to work towards. It could just be like every Monday, Thursday and Saturday, I want to post a 15-second story on my Instagram, or every day I'm going to post a 1-minute vlog. So you know that as long as you do that one thing, you've actually achieved that goal. Another one that I've heard a lot of people say is, I want to grow my following. I want to grow my audience, but you can't control that. You have no control whether people actually hit the follow button or the subscribe button and actually come back and watch your content. The only thing that you can control is your output. So you need a sort of micro step alternative to all of your vague goals. You basically need to think, okay, instead of growing my audience, I'm going to make sure that every day I'm replying to at least 5 comments that people leave on my videos, or I'm going to engage with 10 new people that might like my content, and then actually defining the type of people that you want in your audience and actually going out there and just engaging with 10 people. Or another example could be, I want to improve my video quality, because that was one of my goals, and I realized in my head, okay, that doesn't actually make sense in my head. Like, what do I want to improve? Do I want to improve the captions on my screen? Do I want to improve the lighting? Do I want to improve the sound? What is it that will actually improve the quality? That was so subjective. One of the goals I came up with is that I wanted to do more storytelling and tell you guys more about my life so that you can relate to me, and put more examples in my videos, because I feel like examples is a good way for your brain to actually understand something, and that's the way that I learn, and that is something that I feel like I've achieved in this video, because again, it wasn't subjective, it wasn't vague, it was a sort of micro step alternative. Another micro step to that is I'm going to sit down and actually watch a tutorial on how to improve my lighting. I'm going to watch a tutorial on how to improve the audio, and these are just little things that you can do in order for you to basically improve your video quality. One thing I've been doing recently to really take off the overwhelm and reduce my mental load is, if there is something that I need to do that will only take 2 minutes, whether it be replying to an email or sending a document over or sending something for review, whatever it is, if I feel like it is literally going to take 2 minutes or less, I'm doing it there and then, because sometimes our to-do list can really rack up with all these little things that need to be done, but they don't need to be there. You can just quickly get that done. And if you fall into the habit of just getting them little things done, it kind of takes the overwhelm away, because one, you're not writing it down, your to-do list doesn't look like an absolute essay, and you're sort of giving your brain sort of no time to think about it, because you're like, oh, 2 minutes, I can do this now. Because sometimes a lot of our problems is when we think too much. Now, one of the things I want you guys to do is, from your brain dump, if you haven't done it, pause the video and do it now, but taking one of them goals and actually thinking of all of the micro steps that you need to do. Now, one of my absolute hacks, if you are an overwhelmed girly like me, which has been an absolute game changer in the way that I do my work, is setting myself a 10-minute timer. I've been doing this quite a lot because sometimes I feel like my brain just goes, is a bit lazy, it doesn't want to do it, and I do actually enjoy my work. I enjoy talking to the camera, I enjoy actually editing content, I enjoy getting it out there, and I enjoy filming content, and I actually enjoy all the sort of admin tasks as well, because once I'm in it and I'm in a flow state, I absolutely love it. But it's really hard to sort of enter a flow state sometimes. So just by setting that 10-minute timer, I'm sort of telling myself, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm gonna start it, my goal that I've micro-stepped already, just saying. And if I don't feel like doing this in 10 minutes, I will stop. At least I've tried. But most of the time, literally like 95% of the time, my brain is actually like, hey, you know what? This isn't so bad. And I will end up staying there for like a good 4 hours in a deep focus flow state session. And I get so much done because sometimes 10 minutes is all it takes for your brain to think, okay, you know what? This isn't so bad. Starting is always the hardest bit. And this sort of like 10-minute dash rule is what makes your brain sort of think, okay, you know what? Starting isn't so hard. I'm just going to do it for 10 minutes and then I'm going to stop. Now, one of the biggest things that you've probably seen all over social media is people working in coffee shops. The reason why this works is because it's sort of like body doubling. When you go to places where people are working or doing things, or if you're going to a library and someone is basically working on their laptop in the same way that you are, it's basically providing your brain with almost like a social anchor, and it basically stops your brain from wandering because you're like, oh, okay, like they're focused, they're doing it, and it's absolutely fine if I'm doing the same thing. Which is why when I went on my honeymoon, I loved working in coffee shops. I was doing so much work and I was so productive because a lot of people in Dubai was actually sort of like working in coffee shops. There's like a lot of influencers there, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm home. And it just made me feel really, really comfortable to actually just sit down and work. And sometimes just a different change of scene can really help with the overwhelm as well. Now that we've talked about our to-do list, why you're probably overwhelmed, and the little things that you can do to help that, and an overwhelm friendly system, one thing that you need to do is prepare for the days where you don't have it together. You need to prepare for the low energy days. What is the bare minimum thing that you need to do in order to progress in the type of person that you want to be? Because there are going to be days where you just don't have it in you to follow a list at all. You don't even want to literally look at your list. You want to throw that list so far across the room, and that is completely normal. I do it. I can guarantee that all the people that you are looking at online also do the same thing, where you feel like they've got their shit together 24/7. I can guarantee that they also have the low energy days, and again, that is absolutely fine. But one of the difference that they do and you don't do is that you haven't got an action plan for that day. You sort of need the emergency backup. I want you to write down your bare minimum list. What is the absolute bare minimum that you need in order for your life to just not fall apart? And on them high overwhelm days, you just need to make sure that you are doing that bare minimum list and you've succeeded. You need to tell your brain, you know what, I didn't fail. I can get back on it tomorrow. I can get back on it the next day. You need to forgive yourself and just give yourself a breather and be like, you know what, I am not a failure because I did what was on this bare minimum list, and that just keeps you going. Now, I think we're gonna leave that there. Now, all of the advice that I give you in these videos, I actually follow through on myself, and I do show you the behind the scenes action. So if you sort of need that nudge or an extra push on how to do it, then definitely follow me on TikTok, because this is where I basically share my whole life. I've also been doing this new thing where I basically do like big sister advice, and I love talking to you guys. As you can tell, I'm a chatterbox. And I've been talking to you guys just about all of my realizations and all of the mindset shifts that I am going through in order to make all of the things that I'm telling you in this video a lot easier. So definitely head on over there and give me a follow. I hope you found this video useful. Definitely leave me a comment if there are particular things that you are struggling with, because I really want to make sure that I'm helping you guys in the best way. And I will see you all in my next video.